Greetings from planet Earth. This is Living in Spirit 2015 by Sabrina Louise Winfield. A short synopsis of this episode. Of amnesia, I record whatever I'm thinking or feeling at the time as I float around the universe, or I leave my body for astral travel until I flash back onto this physical plane. In the beginning. A genesis. This has taken me a while to ventilate. Rather than using my ordinary blog as a platform of communication, I've decided to write a short passage on the events of ascension. Remaining calm through a calamity has proven a burden and a blessing. It has revealed to me numerous flaws, yet beautiful powers of love, prayer and possibility, if fashioned in the correct manner. It is so easy to fall into habits. It is choosing the right path, the right patterns to create a utopia for the welfare of your entire surroundings. Usually writing is not difficult, but sometimes, with all these tangent thoughts, missing parts of my soul, so desperate to get back to me, perhaps I have stolen some of their energy too. I remain to promise here that I will send it back in exchange for their forgiveness. If I could change anything, I would not have been born. No, that's an awful thing to say. Why? Because there is a reason for everything. Do you really believe evolution happened by accident? It is too brilliant an equation to simply monumented into projection. Although these are just my experience of it, manifesting into reality. I couldn't count how many times I've mentioned that before, but for the record, I probably sound like a broken one. Lately, I have had to remind myself it's back to basics and back to the drawing board, which reminds me, my tattoo should be drawn up by now. There was some reservation in his eyes as he galloped into the kitchen at 2 a.m. that Tuesday morning to bid her farewell until the next encounter. They had just spent an unequivalent episode in her well-cleaned bedroom, a duration of precious time shared in a late evening filled with surprise and smiles. Their souls bonding into each other, intertwined in the most sensual of experience, the most sensual of his existences. And in that moment, it was evident that her impotency of her mere body was not enough to express the passion that had relighted in her heart. Prospects steadily came into her mind's eye, and ambition tickled her like the wag of an old dog's tail hitting her gently in her leg to keep moving. Although she may not have been the wildest in the bedroom, her modesty had provoked her. Her modesty had provoked an invitation for her on a potential cinema date and a call round his place in the not-too-distant future. It was hilarious how their mutual friend had made an effort to be involved in the pre-negotiations of what would be the most liberating move she had accomplished in at least a year. It was true that her instincts had not failed her on this occasion. Her life was just a jumbled and authentic creation from the subconscious of her mind, and perhaps all she could have dreamed for. On the other hand, what troubled her daily was minor ailments all the way through to the world's affairs that were propagated on none other than the course she was studying in this present moment. Finally, she had no resentments or ties to the past, except one. This strange phenomena was almost impossible for her to explain, although it was adamant that the world as she knew it had come together. It was her responsibility to take care of herself as she would take care of the bigger picture. Luckily, she had opened her mind to the possibilities of the future. It is hard to live in the present moment. The best of them come and go like a dream state, only for the mind to be reminiscent in the years to come of the person she was before. That girl had progressed into womanhood, and it was her duty to be reliable, professional, and hold tightly to this reality, to be around for the most important components of life. Family, friendship, amongst the little things, like good food, recreational activities, and not necessarily the kind that involved altering toxins, and she feared it would limit her heart and her soul to stretch into the dimensions of love and freedom that this, unarguably, somewhat cruel planet everyone lives on. From every atom of her being, she could feel the texture, the moisture and density of the air enclosing her in the space where she had shared fragments of her soul to the departed. For she was recently alone, and had never endured such a state. She mourned the idea that her life would end here. After a slightly hazy reception, the outdoors had proven replenishing to her essence. She quickly assumed that the pressures of being constantly surrounded by separate individuals was proving to be stressful yet rewarding, hence the singing, dancing, and real conversationalist value. She knew that nothing is separate, but made of the same things. Honestly, she had never paused long enough to contemplate the worth in that, and to stop chasing things that are not ready to reveal themselves. She'd like to think that she has a friend in heaven, or some form of a spirit guide, but not for malicious intent. She imagined this person cared for her beliefs and her lifestyle choices, and had a highest respect for her. She could only imagine, wish, dream. She looked vacantly into the world, and said to herself, "This is where I am." The third instalment of this collection includes a few notes from my favourite pastime, procrastination. So, if the body is my hardware, the brain is my software, and my soul is the energy source, the imperfect perfection of which is evidence that a human being is capable of doing whatever they must do, I digress. If life is the Matrix and is about climbing a ladder, building professional relationships, then is it not plausible to do this whilst practicing my faith in becoming closer and one with God? Can I break the mould and work hard to achieve something for myself by God's will? Am I only just a collection of people I have developed with over the course of my lifetime? I will never quit asking questions. I promise myself now that whenever there is a setback, I will pick myself back up off rock bottom, not with vengeance, but with grace and mercy. Be grateful for the experience and not torture myself with the concept of suicide. After all has been said and done, there is only one thing I can confirm is truth in life, which applies to every human being. You only have yourself. I knew this from a young age, yet it did not occur to me so obviously until I made so many mistakes. Maybe the same mistakes over and over and over again. Although I chose to learn from these paths, I have taken and weighed the benefits of the doubt that had I not lived as I have up until now I am writing this, I may not know what I am privileged to see before me. The world is a playground. Allow the child within to go wild with enthusiasm, because all the tools are there for you to use to your advantage. It has taken me a great deal of time to relinquish the past and look up and ahead from regret. What is in the past cannot be unchanged. It is there for reflection on self-improvement. It is about what you make of it. It is about chasing your dreams, building ideas in your mind, and watching them play out with a deterministic attitude, positive and persistence. It's all key. And a great French philosopher once said, I think, therefore I am. If you are capable of imagination, then you can unlock the door to opportunity. Einstein said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world." I have been labelled, stereotyped, abused, misunderstood, bullied, lied to, fooled, emotionally torn, scarred, mentally and physically, yet still I rise again for the glory of God. The unfailing, the almighty, the unbreakable energy flow of love, compassion and light. After the darkness, the siege and abomination I have endured, I thank God He has brought happiness and purpose into my life again. I am no longer trapped in the thinking that my existence is to serve an individual with no respect for my individuality. I was made in God's image. I am worthy of anything as much as my neighbours. That is security, comfort, good health and enjoyment of life. I do not strictly follow a particular religion. However, I have a strong intuition and fairly responsive, sensitive side. I am blessed to be surrounded by creativity, passion and hospitality. Reviewing my circumstances, I am sensing a phase of calm. I consider everything. I am lucky. I was once told I am very insightful, though it could be a various feature of things. I might be autistic, I might be estranged at the best of times, and I might be crazy. I may have delved into myself so far that I am completely lost in the canopies of my organs, arteries, atoms. I am happy to be alive. I am whimsically floating through towards better things. I am pensive. I am deep. I am more aware that I am not alone in this state of consciousness. It is Ash Wednesday, and then Lent. I do not usually follow as closely as this, but to the higher source, definitely stronger, for I feel that everything has happened in my life has happened for an important reason. I must be more disciplined, generous, hospitable, and admiring of other people, because I can learn and change my perspective. I want to make my family proud. I want something to show myself I am proficient enough to make myself a team player, a functional and pleasant person to be with. I want to change myself for myself, and I do not want to be disliked, yet I do understand not everyone's going to like each other. I yearn to be more than tolerable. I would like people to recognise me as a changed person for the greater good. If I follow the right path, I trust God that good things will come into play, and with my experience I am enabled to make better decisions. It has been a really complicated path. Now I'm out of the jungle and into open space to roam freely, contentedly. This is a story of hope, redemption, rebirth, repentance. Well, that was interesting. In fact, I can't quite focus enough to commemorate the exact details of what this is all about. I've been reading, I figured that time and money are man-made things, although selfless love is a separate matter. Light and darkness, yin and yang. I know faithfully how it feels. Why do human beings possess the urgency to create things and not just let them happen? Where has our sense of freedom to allow the flow of divine energy gone to assist us in all that we require? I, for one, am certain that everything will happen as it should. Personally speaking, I've been fortunate enough to have been shown that the power can achieve. Each individual deep down know their own motives and desires. Should they simply waste their talents and ambitions for a few fallbacks? I disagree. Sometimes it is paramount that being in your own mind is healthy. Then at least you are aware of yourself and you're not just entirely dictated by the people around you. We need to seek the people who reflect us positively and complement our frequencies. After time, we see ourselves as a collection of all the people we have crossed paths with. We must cherish that truth for our own survival. We must attain balance for our own functionality, otherwise we are setting ourselves up to fall apart. I believe that studying all different paths of faith is also important into understanding the world around us. On the other hand, there is still a likelihood that the masses of texts, speeches and films are all part of a dogma which is intended to control our own free will. People should do what they want as long as it does not bring them harm to anybody else. Expelling negative force is only going to come around again sooner or later. What is free love? Is free love the answer? What if, in a strange psychological way, being selfless brings ourselves back into harmony? These are just a few of my thoughts. It would seem that everything I create, everything I get grips with, appears to just simply collapse or cease to further exist, like a constant drone of exit music from my small meandering life. Without it, I have nothing. It is a usual experience of floating through days and nights, from sunrise to moonlight. I can't express myself clearly enough to handle this emotion, and particularly attachment to my physical body, for it is the only real thing I possess. I have too easily squandered it, damaged it, given it away, and let foreign bodies in, that of which I ingest, apply, and submit to enter it. If the body is a temple of God, then it should be allowed to be freely moving and with agility, strength, charisma. Dance, motion, senses, and a oneness with its environment, its total capacity to interact with all around it and part of it, and a healthy situation grants a healthy body. Further to that, the mind itself manifests the body of which it represents. We are what we believe ourselves to be. We create our own existence by living, not just by regularly being. We have to be part of our surroundings and the world we are given, to be of service not only to it, but to ourselves. We build our own paths. The containers of bricks and the visions of our dreams are as real to each other as the air we breathe. I have stagnated, plateaued, and now I am awakening once more, to move forward again, to brighter and more fulfilling places. Coherently, I am abandoning this old self and rationally deciding to rediscover the self, pastimes new and old, collaborating them into what I consider to be perfect destiny. Destiny is a concept, as is everything, belief or non-belief, and to not believe at all is a belief system in itself. We are walking, talking oxymorons. We are our own worst hypocrites, and the only challenges we truly face are the ones within ourselves. We must overcome fear in order to achieve anything, and this works not only for our own well-being, but for that of the physical environment in which I speak about. Destiny, some would say, is something which is preordained, though it cannot be controlled or manipulated, and that everything happens for a reason. Although, through spirit science, it has been acclaimed that if we put positive energy and reasonable trust into our thinking, all being that with a good intention, better things will fall together, despite what we may feel at the time, like an inevitable doom. But it is this way. When you hit rock bottom, the only way is up. I saw a lady walking down the canal on my bike ride, and she was with the family dog and her 3 children. Clearly, she was a cancer patient. I couldn't help admire her because she was hairless and still smiling. It was a beautiful day, and her joy for life swelled me with hope. It was inspiring. I had met some wonderful people on this journey. I had a wonderful bike ride across the countryside. There is so much to explore. I have yet to meet and get to know so many new people. I have yet to experience so many areas of culture and methods of how to live. I do not quite understand everything. I'm far away from the omniscient. I will not give myself too much credit yet. However, I do believe to be on a good path, somehow. Although I did think that I'd fucked things up, perhaps it was for the greater good. I'm not sure where this is going, and I don't know what's going to happen in the near future, but I am definitely going somewhere. We all are. I have a big feeling that big changes are about to shift, and that truly, it's out of my control. Cannot sway it to my advantage after all. I'm not in the best of places, but I'm not in the worst. I like to consider myself the happy medium. Maybe I'm going to meet someone who changes it all again. Only for good reasons and only for positivity and healing. I truly believe I'm going to learn forgiveness, self-worth, self-respect and happiness. And I know everybody is deserving of this. I know I'm going to be okay, no matter what. And so are you. It had been such a long time. Time had to have surpassed to this moment for the lid to have been lifted on the primary affair. The one that would plague her for the rest of her life. All the previous comments and pictures that flayed before her bloodshot eyes now appeared discredited, since the hero of her story had abandoned her in confusion, delusion and treason. It made sense now that once she had awoken at lunchtime and something in her world dared intrigue her imagination, that perhaps her life was truly empty, until her opened her profile and revised a little history. There, she had found her dismantled life, captured vainly in the photographs from last summer, her peachy cheeks rosy with complacency. The tears swell in her eyes, even now they bulge, brimming and blurring her vision of a radiating laptop screen where fingertips would act out cyber kisses and animate words by crafting them into slogans and discreet derision. By living this way, I was not only alive in the spirit of those who allowed me to be, but I became effective entertainment on all dimensions. I stare at my reflection, praying for answers, assuming that I'm supposed to match up flawlessly with another human being, that we would all be contained in our own perfect, impenetrable, invisible energy field, and never have to fear anything ever again. What a utopia that would amass to. Sometimes I like to handwrite to myself. I'm jesting and testing myself that I really have lost my identity, and that all that I am is a microcosm of people I have encountered that simply inhabit my mind and soul, like a theory of solipsism. I may have even imagined them to keep me company in this desolate world. What if their manifestation before me was simply my subconscious, transmitting information into the physical world for the pleasure of my subjective well-being? Some nights, I wish that I could go to sleep and never wake up, that I could exist without this inner torment, this imperceivable pain, and discard the memories of my immoral actions and tainted thinking. Then the absence of these emotions would leave me with dull numbness. So surely, it is better to feel bad than feel nothing. On the contrary, the fantasia of non-existence is suring an existence in itself. If you are able to imagine it, then it exists as something surviving, at least in your mind. You have a preordained idea of what death is, or non-existence would be like, so perhaps it is a physical place after all, that you create and pass on to after death. This is my theory for life after death. Like numbers, symbols and patterns, there must be a thinker, consciously focusing on the existence of these values for them to exist. If enough thinkers believe in the truth of these values, then they are a permanent ideology of life that is accepted by the masses. I mean, look at what Hitler did. Just because it was evil actions, does that mean the ideology behind those actions were organically evil? Or did he also have mental health problems? A set of morals is a belief system in itself. I'm just using Hitler as an example because I don't know a lot about him, as I am terrible on my history, on my world history anyway. However, I do believe that it takes one person to start anything like a pandemic nonetheless. That ball of pain, like lead on fire, swam around my brain like a transcending penalty of apathy.